I'd like to welcome you to another edition of the Cyber Strategy Retreat Executive Roundtable. The Cyber Strategy Retreat brand is known for bringing business, technology, and security executives together to discuss cybersecurity from a strategic perspective. This event would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. Thank you to our partners at Cobalt Labs, who specialize in penetration testing as a service. Thank you to our partners at Checkmarks, who specializes in application security testing. And thank you to our friends at NIST, who provide a library of valuable security resources and standards in their Computer Security Resource Center. Injecting security into your DevOps strategy takes a deep dive into the practice of DevOps. Organizations have embraced DevOps as a solution to develop software more quickly and automate infrastructure changes. I agree that enhanced collaboration between IT operations, staff, and developers adds significant value for the business. However, DevOps can present some significant risks to an organization if not implemented properly. As a strategic planning expert, I think that a sound strategy is required to ensure security is considered and applied early and often throughout the development lifecycle. This is even more important when development is completed in a DevOps environment, because embedding security controls at the beginning of the system development lifecycle ensures effective management of operational and cybersecurity risks for the deployed systems and services that are produced. So why are we here? Honestly, I just want you to learn something. This is why I invited some great thought leaders and experts to help me share ideas and information that helps people achieve real success with their individual programs. My friends and I will share ideas about how strategic planning, system security engineering, penetration testing, and application security testing work together to support a comprehensive approach that will allow organizations to support DevOps, manage risk effectively, and support the needs of the business. We're moving very far from the traditional approach found in waterfall development. Originally, you would sit back, plan everything in advance, and then deploy the plan in sequence. You had to be perfect and get the model right the first time, because waterfall development is not designed to allow you to go back and correct issues in the plan after execution. If we're going to use DevOps as an alternative to waterfall development, we might as well do it securely. This is not about training developers to create secure code. Instead, I'm talking about creating an environment that only allows secure code to be produced. In this environment, we increase our trustworthiness and the faith that we have in the systems, because the only outcome is to have something that is secure, resilient, and meets the needs of the organization. The benefit: we manage our risk effectively, we reduce the risk that we're exposed to, and we allow everyone to be successful by focusing on business needs and outcomes rather than focusing on whether or not security is a speed bump, a roadblock, or a significant distraction in the business process. So what do we mean by DevOps? It's important to begin with a definition. Microsoft has a good definition that helps provide clarity for our discussion. Now, Microsoft is not the only company involved in DevOps, and they don't define the de facto approach, but Microsoft does have a mature definition, mature documentation, and mature processes to support this initiative. Their definition is generally understood, and many organizations adopt similar approaches. Ultimately, the goal in DevOps is to get everyone on the same page. Instead of working in silos, operations, development, infrastructure, security, and everybody else who is part of the development ecosystem is going to work together in a cohesive group to streamline the development process and roll out applications at speed that makes sense. Speed that makes sense is an important concern. Your approach for designing and delivering solutions at the speed of business will be influenced by the resources, the capability, and the maturity of your organization. Many organizations overlook security and the role that security plays to support the DevOps approach. The disconnect that often exists between the DevOps team and the security team is the focus of this roundtable discussion. Our goal is to encourage everyone to intentionally inject security into their DevOps strategy to ensure the only way to develop code, applications, and systems is to deploy them in a secure, resilient, and trustworthy manner based on the design and configuration of your tools and infrastructure. So how does governance work at your organization? Because we're building a cohesive, cross-functional development team, corporate governance, IT governance, and security governance all factor into the equation for a successful DevOps program that has security integrated into your activities. Everyone must understand the corporate goal. Everyone must understand the decision-making authorities and the boundaries for accepting risk, whether we are focused on security risk, operational risk, compliance risk, or reputational risk. Everyone must accept and agree with the approach and the standards established to manage the DevOps process. The process must be framed in a way that satisfies all requirements that you're trying to accomplish, including security requirements, but primarily focused on operational efficiency and the goals of integrating the team to deploy things at the speed of business. Governance and strategy are related concepts. People use the word strategy all the time, but don't always know what they mean. By academic definition, strategy is a general plan to achieve one or more long-term goals and to do so under conditions of uncertainty. Managing uncertainty is the key to strategy because you can never know the conditions or the situation you will face in the future. This is particularly important to consider when you work to align your DevOps strategy to the practices and requirements for managing cybersecurity risk and for managing other risks within your organization. If a sound strategy is your goal, strategic planning provides a structured approach to identify the goal by documenting the steps required to move from where you are today to where you want to be in the future. Many organizations are jumping into DevOps without a strategy and without thinking about their execution. They're not developing a roadmap for implementation that says what needs to be adopted, how it is going to be adopted, and how that adoption is going to be used to meet the needs of the business. Many questions need to be answered if DevOps adoption is going to be successful and secure. What are the tools that are acceptable? What are the frameworks that are going to guide your processes? How do security and digital transformation initiatives relate to your use of DevOps? How does the IT operations strategy align with the DevOps strategy? How do you create an environment that protects the organization, its applications, and the data so that it is more resilient to any kind of compromise, outage, or disruption? The work you do when you define your DevOps strategy must focus on developing an understanding of the environment, how it operates, the risks that you're exposed to, the steps that must take place to limit or prevent disruptions, and anything else that needs to be considered that can damage your reputation, your regulatory requirements, your contractual obligations, or any other question concerning operations. If you use a good governance framework to manage DevOps, and if that framework supports proper strategic execution, you can increase the confidence you have that the technology environment supporting development operations will function as intended and produce the results you expected. Then, from a security perspective, you have a better understanding of the situation and what remediation needs to take place when incidents occur on the systems and services created by your DevOps team. Keep in mind that the objective of strategic planning is to develop a strategic plan that provides a roadmap for achieving a future goal. Injecting security into your DevOps strategy requires a roadmap. Therefore, it helps to understand how to use strategic planning. The process begins with establishing context to ensure the situation is understood. The business drivers that companies face produce different responses and priorities, even for businesses in the same industry. Your DevOps strategy needs to consider how DevOps will work in your company because you cannot apply the strategy from another company and expect the same results or the same success. Performing analysis with tools like SWOT or PESTLE ensures that the context and the capabilities of your business are understood before you begin working on the strategy for using DevOps in the business and to do this securely. The time invested in analysis helps to identify what resources are available, what gaps exist, and what additional steps need to take place so that you can achieve the outcome that you're looking for. Next, you want to consider setting long-term goals and objectives. These should be SMART goals where the mnemonic SMART represents goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. This will help you understand where you're going during the execution of your strategy, and it will help you know when you have arrived at the goal. The goals developed during the strategic planning process often relate to some problem the organization is already dealing with. The root cause of issues often drives the solution that is described in the strategic planning process. For example, if you're not using DevOps today and want to use it tomorrow, what is the root cause issue that you're solving, and how is the implementation of this strategy going to change the way that you operate? DevOps is not just something that you run out and do tomorrow because it sounds fancy. Implementing secure, effective DevOps requires a plan so that you can identify the resources, the goals, and the outcomes that need to be produced. Understanding why you are making this transition in your approach allows you to identify the best solutions and resources to address the root cause issue. This is going to allow you to combine the capabilities, knowledge, and wisdom of your people to produce a product, service, or result that satisfies the needs of the organization based on the goals and objectives defined by the strategic planning process. One of the most important processes in strategic planning is development of performance metrics. Metrics allow you to track the execution of your strategic initiatives. This helps determine whether you are ahead of schedule, on track, or falling behind. The right metrics serve as a forecasting tool that help you take corrective action before it's too late. The right metrics also help you communicate the value of the investments you've made in your DevOps initiatives, which were adopted to help the organization achieve business success. The Cyber Strategy Retreat Executive Roundtable is brought to you by CLASS-LLC. This session, Injecting Security into Your DevOps Strategy, is made possible by support from our partners at Cobalt Labs, Checkmarks, and the National Institute of Standards and Technology. If you like what you hear, please follow CLASS-LLC online and at our social media channels to receive updates and announcements about additional sessions in the series. You will also periodically receive notifications about other Cyber Strategy Retreat content and CLASS-LLC insights. If you want to learn how to apply these principles in practice, the Cyber Executive Masterclass provides a deep review of cyber executive leadership that addresses strategic planning, DevOps, risk management, and a host of other business practices that support the successful execution of a security department. The next cohort of our masterclass starts on 23 January, and you can sign up online at Eventbrite using the link on the slide. So in closing, I'd like to thank you for listening, for sharing, and for providing your feedback about this edition of the Cyber Strategy Retreat Executive Roundtable, Injecting Security into Your DevOps Strategy. If you have any questions or comments and you'd rather not use the social media tools, please send an email to info@class-llc.com. This is a great way to submit feedback, ask a question, or request a complimentary consultation with our workforce development or professional services teams. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session.